So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our Seventh Lord Through Houses series. Okay. And still, I am the sad man that I said in my last series video. Because again, Yash is. He just slips down. He can barely walk. He walks, then he'll. If even another dog nudges him, he'll sit down on the floor and he can't get up. But if he's on a carpet, he's fine and normal. So, and this is the reason why too I've taken up photography, because that helps me divert my mind. Like now, because I'm doing street photography, I'm like, as soon as my work is done here, I go out. Like even every single night, I'm like going somewhere, just taking shots of people, because I hate AI pictures. It's so stupid now. Like you see all these like babies walking with lions, and somebody's flying on an owl. It just no longer has any, and it just special effects and CGI is just it's idiotic and stupid now. I think I probably want to make my Saturn movie without even CGI. Like that's it. It's just too over simulating. Anyway, so seventh Lord through houses. Now, what is the seventh house? Seventh house is everybody else. Whoever comes in front of you, like your client, girlfriend, boyfriend, relationships, marriage, business partnerships. Seventh house is, mass fame. Seventh house is your success in your career. Seventh house may represent your second child. Seventh house, may represent your father's elder sibling. Seventh house will represents your younger siblings' children. I mean, you can keep going on and on. Seventh house will represent loss of your in-laws. And right when you got married, guess what happened? Loss to the in-laws happened. Why? They had to spend money in either grooming you as your groom or taking care of the wedding as you're a bride. So that's what seventh house is, But if seventh Lord is in the seventh house, it's not like a simple seventh Lord is in the seventh house, so it's going to protect that house. It's going to be comfortable in that house. It's a case, but it still is not a case. Like, for example, when you see planets like Jupiter, Venus, and Moon in the seventh, they disturb a lot of things. I don't care if Venus is exalted or debilitated. I don't care if Jupiter is exalted or debilitated. Is going to bring some form of disturbance in that particular area. Moon can be exalted. That means if Moon is exalted, then Moon's significance are very, very strong. Okay, so, and then you obviously will have the nodes in Saturn. Well, actually, I should be saying Sun. Sun, Jupiter, Venus, and Moon are tough. Venus, okay? Venus, the only reason why Venus is considered seventh house as strong, because it helps the individual understand the ultimate truth of life when Venus is in the seventh. Why is that? Because Venus is in the eighth from the point of its exaltation. Venus comes here to die. Venus's highest quality comes here to die in the seventh house. Because Venus is exalted in the 12th house, right? In Pisces. And it's the house of devotion. It's the house of service. It's the house of spirituality. It's the house of, escape and, enlightenment. And seventh house is the death of it. So Venus is like, yeah, I control this house, but I feel dead. It's like you're taking an artist, like let's say a photographer, and you're putting that person in a law firm and law office and giving them all the administrative duties and paralegal legal duties. They will do it, but it's like they feel dead inside. But on the other hand, seventh Lord in the seventh will obviously will protect a lot of things. Like, for example, in business, you will always have the right clients coming to you, the right customer coming to you. You will achieve your career success. Your second child will be successful. Your elder uncle will be successful. The children of your younger siblings will be successful. Okay. And of course, seventh house is also the father. If you have both younger and older siblings, then seventh house is the father as well. So it brings about those particular successes as well. Now, when seventh lord goes into other houses, this is where, the main dynamic happens. But anytime you see a seventh lord in the seventh house, just know it's comfortable. It's able to fight certain things, fight off a lot of the misunderstandings that happens with the seventh house. But just because a lord is in its own sign, that does not mean at all that it's going to do well. You can have an exalted sun, a Leo sun in the seventh house. But there's only one thing's going to happen. Either you're going to have a good relationship with your father or your spouse. You can never have good relationship with the both. This thing will not let you do that. Okay. So now let's look at seventh lord in the eighth house. So when seventh lord goes into the eighth house, first of all, your entire married life is going to be somehow get strongly connected with the spouse's family. Like, those people, whenever a family function happens, they will always come to your family the most. And it's your, cousin-in-law. It is your brother-in-law, sister-in-law. And they're always coming to all the family occasions versus them going to their own family occasions. So, time to time. But they will always get involved with the family of the spouse. The other thing, with seventh lord in the eighth house, big transformation and changes occur in the life of your spouse. Okay. Big transformation. Usually it is the seed of Bhagya Uday. Seventh lord in the eighth. Why? Because the seed of the seventh house is actually lending into the ninth house. If you know the concept of Padha, the Padha of the seventh is in the ninth, which means the seed is sowed into the eighth, but when it sprouts, it's sprouting into the ninth house. That means Bhagyodaya is happening. This also confirms both your second child and the elder brother will make money through speech and definitely will have wealth and money activated in their life. And this is also the position that will show that the moment you got married, and literally, I can attest to this. I can be a witness to this because seventh lord in the eighth, a person suddenly gets interested in things like occult and mysticism and metaphysics and anything which is just considered pseudoscience. Okay. Which is stupidity because everything is a science. Pseudo is given by people who are not as intelligent and cannot understand certain type of science and calculations. But suddenly that gets activated. Okay. Seventh lord in the eighth house, the only thing that I see, especially if let's say somebody's a Gemini ascendant, then their intuitive level shrinks. Okay. They could be highly intuitive, but as soon as they get married, they become more business type than intuitive. But this is only for Gemini ascendant. Because the seventh Lord, Jupiter, goes into the eighth in Capricorn. The other thing, seventh Lord is in the second. Spouse is going to be excellent at dealing with wealth, dealing with money, making money, how to make money, coming up with the schemes of money. But one thing I will tell you, even though seventh house is transformation, sometimes we don't know what type of transformation that might be coming. Is it going to be the best of the best, or okay, or not good? Okay. But the thing is, with seventh Lord in the eighth house, keep everything related to the marriage a secret. Okay? Try not to discuss too many things about your marriage to people. You know, there's some people who just want to blab about how bad their marriage is or how good their marriage is. Don't do that. Just keep it a secret. Nobody needs to know unless it's really important and vital for them to know. Okay? Otherwise, just keep everything related to marriage a secret. Business a secret. Like, do not talk about your business until it's sprouted. Until the tree is there, you don't need to talk about what your business plan is, what you're doing. Seventh Lord goes into the eighth house. This is actually a position of a long life, okay, for the spouse. But it happens because of the marriage. Life is given extension. Because life is gaining. Marka Lord is gaining from itself. And of course, with seventh Lord in the eighth house, if you have three siblings, and you're the middle one, after your marriage, father actually finds success. After your birth, father found success. Anytime you had a relationship, father found success. Now, seventh Lord in the ninth house. So then seventh Lord goes into the ninth house, right? So here what we see, first of all, is that on one end, it does bring focus on divinity post-marriage. It brings Bhagya Uday, some form of rise of luck in life. Okay. And of course, because of this seventh Lord in the ninth, the motivation of the marriage is going to be towards social circles, gain, money, prosperity. Meaning the main focus of both the husband and wife will be towards settling, or at least the person who has this, they want to get their social status high. That becomes the motivation, and you will not realize this until you have gotten married. Because you don't know what your motivation is going to be until this particular planet becomes active due to the seventh house. But on the other hand, what happens with seventh Lord in the ninth? Too many desires bring disappointments. Because here, the motivation is that, oh my God, through marriage, I will do this. I will accomplish this. I'm working here and I'm going to marry somebody who's also working here. And then they're going to accumulate wealth and I'll accumulate wealth. And we're going to do things together. They have the entire thing laid out. And then there's disappointments. Why? Because here the desire, because whenever you have desires, okay, most desires will disappoint you. They will fail you because not every single desire will come true. And for very few people, all the desires can come true. So if your last name is Ambani, whatever you need is there. And anything you need is there to a point where you'll get sick of wanting to get at other things. That's another form of depression. You guys, I don't think will all experience this, but some do. Like once you have everything, you have flown in private jets, gone in the best hotels, gone all over the world. And now once you come full circle, it's like, What else? What do I do? Do I buy a bigger jet maybe now? That's what happens. That's why you see these billionaire CEO keep working, because otherwise they'll just get bored. They have experienced everything. There's nothing new anymore for them. That's why they'll start space companies, because space is the unlimited frontier. Seventh Lord is in the ninth house. Most of your interactions of the marriage will deal with your brother and sister-in-laws. It could be a great relationship, either a conservative or a great relationship. But your efforts are going to be put always in pleasing the brother and sister-in-law. If you deal with drama, some drama will occur with the brother and sister-in-law. And then seventh Lord goes into the ninth house. You will see right after marriage, either there's going to be some long distance travel, or what person naturally goes to some form of a dharmic spot, religious or spiritual spot. Okay. And then seventh Lord goes into the ninth house. Right? So what this person will do, they'll look for approval of the father with marriage. They'll always tell their spouse, oh no, do this, do that, take this for my dad, take that for my father. He will love that. Because you're trying to please, and get approval of the father with the marriage. So it has all the mixed qualities and mixed things. Now let's say, the other thing we see here is that whenever you get a promotion, some kind of a higher distinctions, either it'll happen after you have taken some long distance trip, or you have gone to some kind of a dharmic spot, or you met some guru, suddenly now promotion happens. So if you are not getting a promotion, you might want to do such activities. Then seventh Lord is in the 10th house. Seventh Lord in the 10th house becomes very good for the success of the spouse. It may not be good for your success. Don't think that seventh Lord in the 10th house, well, my career becomes active. Unless the spouse is using you in their career and it becomes your career, meaning after marriage, you both do joint business. Yes, you will attain great, results and fruits of that particular karma. But here it shows 10th house is 10th house, right? It's your 10th house. Seventh Lord is in your 10th house. So it shows that the spouse's career becomes very prominent. The other thing, this is one of those positions where marriage will suffer to a certain extent because spouse becomes busy with work. Marriage activates the workaholic syndrome in them, or even if it's not workaholic, they'll just find so many interests that they're always busy. And you'll feel like, why is it that this person's not giving me the time? And that will be your complaint. Why? Because seventh Lord has gone into the original house of Shani, which is time. And the time is being occupied by work. The person with this looks for a status. Even if they don't care for status, they always look to promote themselves through the spouse with the status. Oh, do you know my husband does this? Or, my wife is a lawyer here. They'll always try to bring that up in the conversation. And marriage gets strongly connected with mother-in-law. Mother-in-law plays a big part in the marriage. And it could be for the best, meaning the mother-in-law taking care of your children. You don't have to worry about daycare and babysitter. Mother-in-law has a lot of money, leaves you money, or especially has a great business where she involves you in that business, involves the spouse in the business. So marriage is generated through that. Seventh Lord is in the 10th house. Most likely the mother-in-law is going to be a professional, or she desires to be a professional, depending upon the circumstances and the culture that a person is in. So like in Middle East, where sometimes they won't even allow women to work, but you will find the mother-in-law who will talk about, I could have done this, I could have helped your father with this business and taken the business to this. She'll always talk in those professional tones. Like she has to work. And the happiness of the marriage comes in when the mother-in-law is happy. If mother-in-law is not happy, somehow it just puts like this darker cloud upon the ambience of the marriage, no matter even if you're living far. You're like, oh my God, we got to talk to the mom. You got to talk to mom. She's upset about this, and you will focus on those things. Okay? And you will also see your father will gain tremendously through his older sibling. He will gain tremendously through older sibling. Anything. It doesn't have to be money. It can be something of value. And the other thing with 7th Lord in the 10th house, usually you will see marriage may not happen with a big celebration, but with a subtle celebration. Usually a person can get court married and then give us a reception. Because again, the marriage, which is that celebration time, right, is going to the house of Shani. Marriage is going to feel like a responsibility, duty, commitment, sacrifice. So even on the marriage itself will be more of like a corporate event than like a social private event. Then you get 7th Lord in the 11th house. So 7th Lord in the 11th house and both 7th Lord in the 10th house is one of those positions of delay of marriage. And marriage is work. You want to get married, get ready for work. It's the effort. Things just not happens easily. You can't just bring one flower to the spouse and think it's going to make her happy. It's going to require a set of 4 other things that's going to make the spouse happy. Now, on one end, 7th Lord is in the 11th house. So obviously it shows destiny of children becomes active. And through children, fulfillment of desires become active. 7th Lord goes into the 11th house. It says, I'm going to awaken your desires. Doesn't say that I'm going to give you this, because that's going to depend upon the condition of the 11th house. But it says, I'm going to suddenly awaken your desires. Somebody who was, let's say, quiet, normal person, okay with a simple job, simple thing. The moment they get married, now they're getting ambitious. Like, I want a bigger house. I want to work in that big Fortune 500 company. I want this, I want this, I want this. And if Saturn is in a great place, whether it's Saturn himself as the 7th Lord, then what happens is the person begins to put forth the effort towards those things. They're not just no longer thinking in the brain. They're like, I'm going to do this. One can just talk. Marriage will awaken these talks. Within months, weeks, it'll awaken these talks. That now I want to accomplish this, this, and this. Before that, and it doesn't happen with everybody. No, not all the people get ambitious after marriage. Some people are ambitious before marriage. After marriage, something additional happened. But here, it shows that main focus is the fulfillment of desires. But doesn't mean desires give you the fruits. But also, on the other hand, big transformation happens after marriage for sure. What type for that, we have to see the chart. But big, huge transformation takes place after marriage. It's actually bigger than 7th Lord being in the 8th house. 7th Lord in the 11th brings about major changes. And especially, although it can also show a major impact on your social circles. 2 things happen. Either social circle will increase or it'll decrease. It'll never remain the same the way it was before marriage. So based on which Lord, what planet, as the 7th Lord is going into the 11th, it'll be impacted. Let's say, for example, it is, Saturn. Saturn will limit His job is to limit, his dharma is to limit your social circle. And only the social circle that can provide you with some form of professional status, professional gains, or someone that you have to give your sacrifice to. It'll keep those people. Rest, it'll get rid of. Sacrifice as in maybe your social circle needs your help now, and now either you may have to help them monetarily or help them find work, help them find more business. Somehow it's going to have that connection left. So like I said, depending upon planet to planet, it will make that particular difference. So also, spouses are going to be completely focused on children. For them, it's about desire of children, wanting to have children, and they'll be engaged with children. Unless you're a certain ascendant, then you may just leave the children upon the spouse themselves. But I won't discuss that ascendant here. There is an ascendant that children are born, they don't care. It's like wild animal giving birth, and there's like, okay, you go, whatever, fine, I'll do this, I'll do that, but you're on your own. Okay. Then seventh lord is going into the 12th house. Seventh lord in the 12th house. Spouse is waiting for you in a faraway place, whether it's your own homeland but across the country or in a foreign place. Seventh lord in the 6th house. Definitely a person will deal with disputes related to investments, expenses. Okay, expenses and investments will be that cause of issues within the marriage, including even spouse's focus becomes on health. Whether they suddenly want to take a different diet, wanting to work out rigorously, or taking trips to doctors like they're going grocery stores. Seventh lord in the 12th house. This is why this placement activates the person's desire for non-duality, desire for letting go, desire for embracing and wanting to know God. Why? Because I don't care if it's Mercury going into the 12th house, Jupiter going to the 12th house, Moon going to the 12th house, but the essence is, okay, that energy is of Venus. Imagine just Venus going into the 12th, where Venus is exalted. So you're in a place of Venus, and now you're going to the place of Venus where it's exalted, which means is devotion. One desires to be devoted to the spouse, but due to certain things, one wants to now suddenly feel like I need to be devoted to something higher. Okay, so this is why you will see, like these particular placement can give struggles if there's too much desire, because this is a place of letting go of desires. You can expect things from the spouse that you thought. And usually with 7th lord in the 12th house, whatever the desire is, the type of spouse you get something different. Let's say, people are like, I only want to marry somebody in my own religion, my own caste, my own thing. When will I get married? I'm like, if this is what you want, be happy, stay single. Nothing is happening. Because I can quickly see that's their desire. And yet at 36, they're getting this reading. I still remember this email where I even discussed it, I think, on Instagram or Facebook at that time. It was a while ago, 2 years ago, where this person was so adamant. It's like, I'm this caste, I'm a Brahmin, I want somebody from this particular area for Orissa, and this. Giving me a checklist and say, when will I get married? It's like they're thinking I'm Brahma and I'm going to approve this checklist and give that to them. While I'm seeing something completely different. And I'm like, that's it. You want this? Be happy, be single. Because also, and then later on, they marry somebody, still Hindu, they were Hindu, but somebody from a completely different state, different caste. And now they wanted to get some other reading. I'm like, well, congratulations, but Neither you're Brahma, neither I'm Brahma. What is sitting there to be done is going to be done. But you see how their desires, whatever their desire was, were dissolved. Because seventh house is Kama, it's the desire. You want to marry the Priyanka Chopra, you want to marry the Angelina Jolie, right? And you're getting some normal person. So all these desires that you're cultivating with the seventh house, don't just let it go. Just be like, marriage comes, doesn't come, doesn't come. So usually you will see such, when seventh lord is in the 12th house, such people are very desperate wanting to get married. Because that's the tease the universe is giving. And it doesn't happen. But the moment you let go, I don't want to get married anymore. I'm good. I'm happy. I have freedom. I have everything. And I'm seeing all the friends and family around me. Everybody has issues. I'm done. And the moment that happens, suddenly somebody comes in your life. Usually that's how these things takes place. See, probably after that person got a reading from me, they're like, well, either I stay single if I want to be this strict, or I should open up myself. And so they went against that desire. They're like, all right, fine. I won't get married. And suddenly somebody came in. So now, seventh lord is in the ascendant. Then, ascendant lord being in the ascendant. Oh, I'm sorry. Seventh lord being in the ascendant. Here, what it shows, first of all, is that your spouse is going to travel from a long, far away distance to meet you. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that they're specifically coming to meet you. So, for example, you're in US, the person is in India, and they're going to fly over to meet you. No, what it shows is that spouse would be born in India, in US, right next to you, meets you. So you meet them and marry them. Now, what happens is, initially, that spouse traveled all the way to find his destiny to meet you, even though it happened 15 years later. And your entire life is controlled and given in the hands of the spouse. These are those people who are actually looking for a spouse that can just take care of their life, help them pay their bills, help them, make decisions about their clothing, make decisions about what they should buy, where they should invest. They love that. They love that control of the spouse within their life. And seventh lord is in the ascendant. This person loves engaging with people. Their life is built around engaging with people. They can actually, if other things are correct, especially Mercury is quite well placed, they want to go into sales. They want to go into, they're those people who will always say on their LinkedIn profile, or will always say on their profile of social media, I love meeting people. I love to engage with people. For me, I love to network with people and learn more and know more. Why? Because the client, the professional client, which is the seventh house, goes into the ascendant. Okay. Is coming to you. They're influencing you. They're showing that you are something that is going to be developed through us. This is why this person feels that the more I'm engaged with the world, the more I'm meeting people, doing business one-on-one with people, meeting people in person especially, the more I feel like I'm learning something, I'm growing as a human being. That's what happens. Also, the ascendant lord goes into the seventh lord goes into the ascendant. You will see your second child will have very strong features as you, personality as you, and character as you. But you will also be influenced by your older uncle, father's brother. So one's life could be strongly influenced by that. Now we go to seventh lord in the second house. So with seventh lord in the second house, well, not also, but seventh lord being in the second house, spouse is going to control the money. Number one. Marriage naturally activates savings. Naturally, this is also the placement where business brings in money. See, many a time people will be losing money in business. This is one placement that can actually help you accumulate business, money through business. If you have the combinations for business, though, you have to have combinations for business in order for you to do that. The other thing, many secrets of the marriage, okay, will be kept within the family. Your spouse is going to love luxury things, wants the finer things in life, will experience the finer things in life. This is why we see that post-marriage money comes in, so you can then do the karma of this particular alignment. The other thing, not just find things, find food. You will also see after marriage, the individual whose chart this is, their appetite increases. Love for food increases. And also, if a person, let's say, is very detached from the family, marriage now brings situation that they will have to be involved within the family. Okay. But also, like I was telling you about the secrets of the marriage, the thing is, because seventh lord is in the second, eighth from itself, it's better to keep secrets of the marriage in a very small knit, because it helps you accumulate wealth. Because if it's eighth from itself, you're going to have to abide by the laws of seventh lord being eighth from itself. This is why we also see marriage transforms a person's life. On the other hand, this does, at one instant, it will take a person closer to a big fight within the marriage, where the other spouse will be like, oh, that's it, I'm done, I want a divorce from you. Oh, that's it. I mean, whether it happens in a light fight or a big fight, there will be that particular threat. Now, this threat does not mean that divorce will happen. Because for that, you have to check something else. The relationship between Venus and Mars and Jupiter and Venus and Jupiter and Mars. But this situation brings about that. And then what happens is after that situation, the individual, will make some dramatic changes to not bring about that particular notion again. The marriage gets transformed at one point. So with this position, if you get too comfortable, like, oh, I don't need to help my wife cook and clean, I don't need to help my wife do this, they're just going to do it, I'm just going to be watching my cricket and my football, it will go to that point then. And then when it gets to that point, now you're going to be bringing that change and that reversal in your life. Because what happens is usually after marriage, the person just kind of loses that focus on the marriage. Like, oh, I'm supposed to be paying attention to the spouse. It's not just that it's my mother or father that they can just never leave me. No, it's legalized partnership. That's all it is. They can leave you. Then, seventh lord is in the third house. Seventh lord is in the third house. Your job after duty, or not job, your reason for coming into this life is to bring about a change of luck in your spouse's life. When seventh lord is in the third house, you will usually get a spouse from a very poor family, not such an affluent family. But after marrying you, they tend to suddenly get a dramatic improvement in their life. It's like their bhagyodaya happens. Why? Because you will be providing things to them, resources to them they never had before. Yet, seventh lord in the third house also will show. Spouse is the type of person who can live in a hut. Because they have experienced such poverty or such struggles in their life at some point, that even though they're happy, yes, I have everything, but they're not afraid to go back to the same situation or be in a hut and live a happy life. They have a very higher caliber of focus and thinking upon the life and marriage and money. But again, I'm going to say this, that It's like an onion layer. This is one part of who your spouse is. The other part would be looking at either Venus or Mars. And then I've already made a video on the ultimate person that you get, which is the Dharakarka, planet with the lowest degree. So it's just like all of these are layers. One is a thicker layer, the other is a thinner layer. But they're all layers. And the other thing you will see post-marriage, somehow area of your communication becomes active. Okay. Communication becomes active, and also self-efforts. This person will desire to put their own effort into doing things, putting their own effort into doing business. Especially if you have a younger sibling, you might start doing business with them post-marriage. Like, for example, in Leo ascendants, Aquarius, the seventh lord, which is Saturn, goes into the third and becomes exalted. You do business with the younger sibling, business rises. Naturally, sign doesn't really matter, exaltation, debilitation, but it does confirm that there is going to be an upliftment in that area. Not only that, seventh lord in the third, the way it's placed, it may not affect your thing as much, but it definitely changes the life of your siblings in general. Whether older or younger, one of them will see where if your coin is flipping this way, their coin could be flipping the other way. Or both of your coins will flip together. But there's going to be a flip. It's not like you got married and one of your siblings is just having the same life that you have seen since before your marriage. It is going to change. And usually also, depending upon the lord of the seventh, either it's going to be desire for engaging with other people or no desire to engage with other people, yet you'll be forced to engage with other people. So engagement is going to happen with other people. Communication is going to happen. But the type and the interest and how much zeal there is in it, that's going to depend upon the actual planet itself. Now let's discuss seventh lord is in the fourth house. Seventh lord goes into the fourth house. So of course, with the particular marriage, first of all, there will be absolute rise in a person's life. Like, especially in terms of recognition. But also with seventh lord in the fourth house, you actually seventh lord in the fourth house. It's a very interesting position. Is that usually either a person becomes famous or recognized a lot, or your spouse will somehow become the catalyst of you being recognized, known. And known does not have to be some TikTok star. Known does not have to be you have to be a YouTube star. Known could be that you were not recognized in certain part of your work or business. You weren't getting into a certain group, meeting, conference, where you could now be connected to certain people. Yet marriage or the spouse themselves somehow contribute for you to now be recognized with the group that you wanted to be recognized with. Seventh lord in the fourth house. This naturally becomes an activation of ability to get property, vehicles, fixed assets, but also marriage is now controlled by the mother, through the mother. Somehow mother's involvement, whether you want it or not, whether you like it or not, happens, especially if mother's in the picture. Like, for example, you don't really want your mother to be involved in your marriage, or your spouse doesn't want to get your mother involved in your marriage. Now, your mother is living separately, father passes away, something happens. Now you're like, well, the inevitable is mother doesn't have anywhere to live, and she's gonna have to live with us. So now, even though you didn't want it, the circumstances brings you into a situation where now mother will have in a natural process of intervening in a marriage. Whether it's even taking care of your children. Seeing you guys argue and fight and then giving her opinion on it. So those things get played. But see, it's the fourth house. Being the house of happiness. So marriage becomes this on and off button. The activation of marriage will turn the switch on for the fourth house. Now, how fourth house is placed will show, is the switch being turned on for peace through the marriage or absolute distress and stressful situation through the marriage? Because seventh lord in the fourth house will not determine it's going to be good or bad. Seventh lord in the fourth house is saying, my duty, okay, is to come and feed in the fourth house. And if fourth house is not clean, I will not make the marriage happy, which is going to disturb your peace of mind. So it's how the fourth house is situated or how the seventh lord is situated in the fourth house will determine, will the switch is being turned on for peace or for absolute distress? Because I've seen it all. Okay. Seventh lord in the seventh house, I've seen it. Seventh lord in the 10th house, I've seen it. Because like, for example, seventh lord in the seventh house, on one side you have Mars, the other side you have Ketu. There. Perfect seventh lord is in the seventh house, which is also then causing Mahapurush Yoga. Maybe through that struggle of that marriage, you become Mahapurush. But, you know what I'm trying to say here. That the simple lord, this especially seventh lord, because it's the most prominent, the highest karmic house, is going to shift and turn things. This is why I've always said, when you see somebody get married who had nothing and suddenly now they're buying Mercedes-Benz, they're moving to a nice home, you're seeing them success, you're seeing them pictures in Hawaii and Cancun and Bahamas. Like, what happened, man? Who did they marry? Is this person rich? No, the person could be as average. But it is because they turned that fourth house on, is now experiencing that fourth house. Because the seventh house has the weight of the 10 times the weight of any karmic house. Okay. So if let's say seventh lord is in the fourth house, you got married in a fourth lord dasha. I mean, you can bet then that happiness and that not even happiness, comfort will become happy, or comfort will definitely increase. Now, seventh lord is in the fifth house. So then we have seventh lord in the fifth house. And this is that position. Usually it's known as, bit of a double-edged sword. On one end, it does show that a person wants a marriage and needs a marriage that is like romance, like Hollywood romance, old school romance. And especially, one actually seeking a partner with this position whom they can have children with, whom they can have, pregnancy with. And you want a marriage that becomes this playground. You want a marriage that becomes a place to have adventure and have fun. Okay. But on the other hand, this is something that brings about a bit of a difficulty in the concept of marriage. What it does is that it suddenly brings about transformation that a person doesn't want, that a person feels like they don't need. Like, for example, transformation can come in that a person has to now leave their country. The person has to, whoa, that's an omen. I don't know if you guys can see that. That's a spider right there. A person feels like they're in the web. Oh my God, this is the most tiniest spider I've seen. Whoa. This is insane. What is this? This is not a spider, it's like a orb. What? What is this? What is this in front of my camera? And I can even see it with my eyes as well. This. Whoa, this is. Is this? This is not a spider, it's like a orb. What? What is this? This was crazy. So I just got a very strange omen. I thought it was a spider first, but then it was like a orb. I don't know what to make of this. I don't know what it. I actually have it. I might upload it as a short. Anyway, so this omen that I saw is kind of like a person gets into a web that they can get out. You know, like a person suddenly has to leave their desired job and go and entangle themselves into a position they don't want to. But on usually this becomes a bit of a difficult position, for the married life. Because why am I saying this? Remember in the beginning I said about the padhas. Like seventh lord. Whoa, this is still hair. That's okay. So the padha of the seventh in this particular case lands in the third house. And third house is the eighth from the eighth. Which of course not only requires effort. Okay. And fifth house is third from the third, meaning in a higher effort to maintain the marriage. On top of that, eighth house, because it's the eighth from the eighth, shows it's like the big transformation that might be actually good for a person outside of the context, but within the context of for the individual themselves, they will not enjoy it. Like for example, if I had to uplift my life from US, okay, and suddenly move to like Europe, Dubai or something, it might look, it looks like an adventure, a new thing, but there's fear. So you'll see, because eighth house is fear. So eighth from the eighth is the third house. The seed of the marriage is in the third house. So there's this natural fear. Usually, you all also see a person actually has fear of even wanting to get married. Phobias towards wanting to get married. Okay. I'm seeing this orb again. Okay. It's almost midnight, so I don't know if it's I need a sleep or something. Wow. I might put this on my Instagram. So anyway, now we're gonna do seventh lord in the sixth house. So now we see seventh lord going into the sixth. Okay. So one thing we see is that the focal point or the planting of the marriage naturally starts with work, starts with disputes. Okay. On the other hand, marriage becomes actually seventh lord in the sixth. Most of the time, a person has to get married, will get married, needs to get married in this life. You know why? Because now there's a pending karma with the marriage. Because sixth house is a house of pending karma. Meaning, You must owe something to this person. You must give something to this person that is promised from past life. And usually, because it's the sixth house, it can actually, to be honest with you, it's better than seventh lord and the fifth. Because here, if the seventh lord, okay, gets into a good position, then it feels like that the marriage is a karmic bond. Like marriage feels like, how did I, in what circumstances, in what world did I get this spouse? I would have never dreamt of this spouse, and yet God gave it to me. But on the other hand, just a little bit of, you know, tinkering with this placement, with somebody's aspect, somebody's conjunction, can literally feel like you're in a battlefield with the spouse. And the thing is, though, that battlefield, it's not a battlefield. It's like one of those games, cat games, dating games, where always the marriage and the couple within the marriage play certain games to keep things excited. So when they fight, the other person feels this rush like, oh, I need to make amends with this person, or vice versa, because the seed of this particular house is landing in the fifth house. And so you will see such people are always will focus on creating children, wanting to have many children, because that's where the plant, the seed, the leaf is sprouting. So usually from the arguments and then making up comes about, the coming of the children. So this is one of those placements that if the planet is good, okay, it'll feel like a very nice bond. Otherwise, like I said, it's a very sensitive position where a little bit of it can just disturb things for an individual. Usually, like you will see, if Saturn, let's say for Leo ascendant, Saturn will rule the 7th and the 6th. So here Saturn feels comfortable by working hard towards the marriage, giving his duty, commitment, sacrifice towards the marriage. In the same way where, let's say, if it's Aries ascendant, Venus the 7th lord and the 6th, here a person just feels this complete criticism, animosity with the opposite sex. Especially in a male's chart, they'll find women who will criticize this person, nitpick things in this person, pick errors in this person, but at the same time, the spouse will be extremely beautiful, extremely attractive, will have such a great sense of humor that whatever she says, the person will accept as, yes, this is true, and they will mold themselves. They'll start supporting anything that this person does. So when the person says you're wrong, they'll be like, yes, I'm wrong. When this person says that person is bad and wrong, yes, that person is bad and wrong. So it's one of those placements you have to kind of see. One thing you'll also see is that if you are 3 siblings, father could have moved to a foreign place, especially if you're a middle child. Also shows naturally older sibling of the father would have left his home place and shifted to some faraway place in life. This also shows your children most definitely will gain their success through communication, media, marketing, sales. Okay. This is also the placement where your maternal grandmother would not be staying at her place of birth, would have to either shift to a foreign land or pretty much to the other end of the country. Okay. So this was my 7th Lord through houses. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Next will be 8th Lord through houses next week. All right. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.